But I guess the saga of the hunt for Ben Solo really is a saga. So let's recap real quick. Let's recap what's going on here. It began last week when Adam Driver and Steven Soderbergh, apparently, I guess some NDA became lifted. That's my guess. Some NDA got lifted. And they decided to talk about how Disney rejected a movie idea. A first post-sequel trilogy movie, The Hunt for Ben Solo. Even though Ben Solo's a failed character. But again, we talked about that on Roundtable. You can catch those videos on this channel, those clips, part 1 and part 2. So part 1 was essentially the movie happened, and all the Raylos and Disney stands out there, they became emboldened again. They decided to try and pathetically, we're going to make it happen. That kind of shit. And I believe there's a petition out there, another pathetic Disney Star Wars petition made by Stans, that you couldn't fill a high school stadium with the people who signed it. So that was part 1. They cried, this and that. They're so happy and they're angry. And then part 2. Part 2, the narrative pushed by people like Josh at Den of Nerds and others, that Kathleen Kennedy deserves an apology because she's a hero that was trying to make good Star Wars for all these years, but Bob Iger wouldn't let her. He vetoed so many things. She had so many great ideas. She fought tooth and nail to give you good Star Wars, everybody. And it's Bob Iger, the supervillain. Completely omitting narrative issues with timeline issues, where Bob Chapek was technically CEO for a lot of these years. And even though Bob Iger was still in the building and possibly pulling the strings on a lot of things, as still the head of the board of directors, the president of the board of directors, he was not CEO. He could not officially sign a paper and say, make this happen. It required Bob Chapek's signature. So some things don't line up. As well as now we've got some other stories are now unfolding. Part 3 in the saga of the hunt for Ben Solo. We'll stay with Park Place for both these articles. Report claims the hunt for Ben Solo canceled for political reasons and may have cost Alan Bergman the Disney CEO job. But does that really hold up? Let's read this. Let's check this out. Some new behind-the-scenes claims about the hunt for Ben Solo are circulating, and they make the galaxy far, far away sound more like an episode of Succession than Star Wars. According to the playlist, Steven Soderbergh's long-rumored Star Wars film starring Adam Driver, The Hunt for Ben Solo, wasn't canceled for creative reasons at all, but for internal political ones. The report alleges that the decision to kill the project coincided with Disney's internal CEO succession battle, and the fallout from the film's demise may have actually damaged Alan Bergman's standing as Bob Iger's potential heir apparent. But how can that be when Bob Chapek was CEO and when this was probably pitched? It doesn't make any sense. Star Wars project didn't really happen. Earlier this month, Adam Driver confirmed that he and Steven Soderbergh had been deep in development on Star Wars sequel titled The Hunt for Ben Solo, set after Rey Skywalker. The film Rise of Skywalker, Rey Skywalker. You get the joke. Bad joke, but you get it. The film reportedly had blah, 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 completed screenplay by Scott Z. Burns and internal green lighting from Lucasfilm, with both KK and Dave Filoni supporting it because they never met shit they didn't like. The project aimed to explore Ben Solo's fate after Rise of Skywalker, which is dumb because he died. Then out of nowhere, Disney corporate reportedly pulled the plug. The official explanation, according to multiple outlets, was simple. Bob Iger and Alan Bergman didn't see how Ben could have survived, which, again, that does make sense. The reasoning already raised eyebrows, considering that Star Wars universe has resurrected everyone from Palpatine to Darth Maul with far less plausibility. Okay, first of all, we've been over this over and again. The Darth Maul was crap. That was a bad decision. He's bifurcated. He should not have survived. Palpatine, force transfer essence, force essence transfer. That's legitimate, but they didn't explain it at all in Disney Star Wars, where they did in the EU. It's Palpatine learned how to transfer his soul. It's that simple. And he'd been living in clone bodies for years. The body that Vader threw down the Death Star vent was already a clone body. That wasn't the real Palpatine anymore. He'd been transferring his body for years because his Dark Force energy literally rots his body. That's something that a lot of people want to gloss over. Palpatine had already been immortal at that point. The playlist hunt for Ben Solo bombshell, politics over plot. Citing anonymous resources close to the production. I hate the resources. It's my resources game. Playlist claims Lucasfilm executives were blindsided by Disney's abrupt rejection of the film, reportedly found the story's logic clear and creatively sound, and were confident the film could move forward. All right, let's remember. We're talking about the creative genius of Dave goddamn Filoni. That's the creative genius we're talking about here. If Dave Filoni found it plausible, then it was probably retarded. Dave Filoni is a creative jackass and only cares about making Ahsoka the center of the universe in Star Wars. That's all he cares about. Several people close to the production interpret the decision as politically motivated, coinciding with Iger's efforts to position Bergman as his successor at Disney. I would really like some dates on this happening. I really would like some dates on this when it all went down. I really would. Because if we're talking about something that was created and put together after Rise of Skywalker and pitched, then that means Bob Chapek was there. We keep saying that. Could we please have some dates? If that sounds strange, it's because it is strange. Alan Bergman has never been a serious contender for the top job at Disney. While he's respected internally for his financial acumen and long tenure within the company, Bergman's career has always been that of a steady operations man, a behind-the-scenes executive focused on balance sheets, not boardroom politics. He was never positioned publicly or privately for Iger's heir. And taking that into account, that would make sense if he helped put the kibosh on the hunt for Ben Solo because The Rise of Skywalker and everything following suite was a financial disaster. A financial disaster for Disney. They have lost hundreds of millions, possibly billions at this point, with every single successive failure of Disney Star Wars since Rise of Skywalker. Everything. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on every show with no return. They just spent probably a couple $100 million on Mando Grogu movie. There'll be no return on that. 350 to 450 is the ceiling on that. I've said before. I'm saying it again right now. And they dumped money into the High Republic. They haven't gotten any return on video games. Nothing. They've only lost money. So if Bergman is a money man, if he's a bean counter, and he had a say in canceling what would clearly be another financial disaster, then it makes sense that he is involved and that he would cancel it. The real competition to replace Bob Iger has always been two figures: Parks chairman Josh DeMero and Disney Entertainment co-chair Dana Walden. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care about these two. They're both failures. They are both complete and total failures. Blah, blah, blah. Even so, Walden remains more likely to see Iger than Bergman ever was. Bergman's name rarely ever even appears at Krebs' session. So the claim that Hunt for Ben Solo was canceled as part of grand political maneuver to protect Bergman's standing is at best a stretch. I will believe these statements. I will believe this because he doesn't sound like he was ever in the running for it. Follow the money. Playlist adds another fascinating potential wrinkle. Writer Scott C. Burns allegedly paid more than any screenwriter in Lucasfilm history to finish a script. Reportedly, a low but substantial seven-figure sum. That's the next story. All right, let's jump to the next story in this because this goes on for a little while here, and then we're just going to get the author of the article's point of view. So let's get to the next one. Disney reportedly paid seven figures for the Hunt for Ben Solo script as Mouse House's wasteful spending continues. Big budget for bigger flops. It's not my fault. Point is, they already spent money on this. Disney budget continues skyrocket as box office returns plummet. It was recently alleged that the Walt Disney Company paid screenwriter Scott C. Burns a seven-figure sum, the highest in Lucasfilm history, for a script that will never be made. So just talking about this right here, if this is true, and it's just gonna talk about the culture of waste, this and that. The point is this, and here's a great breakdown of the waste right here. So I'm just leave that up while I talk about this. Here's the thing. If Disney already paid this guy Burns millions of dollars to write this script, how is Bob Iger the villain then for canceling it? It sounds like they were all in for more shit. So with this revelation, if this is true, that they paid this guy all this money, this kind of destroys the narrative that Bob Iger just cancels everything while Kathleen Kennedy fights to save Disney Star Wars, fights to make good shows. No, it sounds like they pay out money. They were ready to go, but whatever they turned in was such dog shit, they're not going to waste any more money. So with this revelation, the entire narrative that Bob Iger is the supervillain in all of this, when he clearly authorized a payment, if he was the one in charge in this time, it just makes Josh from Den of Nerds and all those people trying to say that Kathleen Kennedy is a hero, Bob Iger's a villain. That's the reason Disney Star Wars is so bad, because Bob Iger doesn't let great creative ideas happen. They paid the man to write it, and he apparently wrote a piece of shit that's even worse than the other shit they've crapped out in the intervening years. How bad must this script have been if they're going to just let the crap that they've Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, all that stuff, how bad was it that they greenlit all this shit listed here and said, no, we're not doing this? You're not, that's realizing, wow, this is a step too far for even us. This is dysfunction to the max, both as a company and with the fake fan activist stand base, the Queerdo Troons, all those people, the commie Marxist leftists, the Andor took us licking piece of this shit, all of them. All of them. They don't know what they're talking about. They have to constantly cast villains in their stories, in these stories of Disney Star Wars successes and failures, in order to cope and compensate for the fact that Disney Star Wars was, is, and always will be a burning trash fire disaster rejected by all of humanity. It's that simple. I love that this is now on display. I love it. It shows how retarded the manufactured fan base of Disney Star Wars is. It shows how dysfunctional Disney is. And it shows just how dead Disney Star Wars is. It has no future. It has nothing. There is no possible way any Disney Star Wars ever makes money. There you go. I wonder if we'll get a part 4 to this. I wonder if any more to this story will happen in the next few days. I wonder. Because there you go. Hunt for Ben Solo So the saga in the hunt for Ben Solo Part 3. Is this the conclusion? We'll just have to wait and see. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.